Hi, good morning, everyone. And today we are talking about authentication in Elixir. So this is specifically using POW library. So today our agenda is like what we are seeing it. I will just give you a brief about what this talk is all about and what this talk is not about, and what is a POW library and how to install it, and what are the extensions available with POW, and what are the other supported features. And there is another accompanying library called PowerSend. What are the features they are giving? And I will give you the resources from which you can learn all this. So moving on. So this talk is about a quick introduction of POW. And hello. Hello.
You are audible.
Okay. I'm not getting any feedback, so I thought I am not audible. Okay. So this talk will be mainly about a quick introduction of POW, and we will see how a session-based authentication in Phoenix can be implemented using POW. And I will just walk through the features available in this library. And this talk is not about why something is better than other, that is POW is better than other libraries, or this is not that kind of talk. And also we are not going deep into technical walkthrough, and there won't be any live coding or no code will be shared also, because last day myself and others had a little conversation, and we changed the format in the last moment to just to like this, so without much coding. So this will be mainly a feature overview. So what you can expect is this is like if you are starting a new greenfield project, you can know what you have available. So what features this library has. So you can decide whether you can go with this one, or whether you need to go with some other libraries. So this is basically that kind of talk only. So not a technical heavy talk. This is basically going through the features of POW. And okay, so let's get to the major part. What is POW? So POW is a complete authentication and user management library that is built for Elixir, and this just works out of the box for Phoenix and also any plug-based applications. And another feature is this library is fully customizable. So what either you can use POW as is, so that you don't have to customize it, or you are just creating a new project, and as an afterthought you want user management or authentication, but you are mainly interested in the actual solving of that problem or the project that you have, but you are not mostly interested with user authentication and user management. Then you can just plug in POW library and use as is. But if you want finer controls, then this library is customizable for that purposes also. So you get every flexibility with POW. Either POW is just keeping in the background, you are not aware of whether how it is running, whether it is running at all, or you can actually control everything that POW has implemented, customize it to your liking. So it is flexible in every way. So we'll just get to know how to install a POW in a Phoenix application. So the first step in installing POW is adding it as a dependency in your Phoenix application. That is your in your mix file, you have the debs function. Just add the line POW and the version number. So right now it is 1.0.20 is the latest version. You can change it when other versions comes, but this is basically it. You just add a single line in the debs mix file and in the debs function, and you just issue mix debs.get, so that the dependency is downloaded to your application. Then The next part is incorporate getting all the files that is used by POW into your application. So for that, there is a mix task is available. So all you have to do is mix pow.install, and that mix task will install the necessary files. And by default, the mix task is only giving you two files. That is, one is in a user module in a user's context, and a corresponding migration file is also generated. This is all that is required for POW to work. And there are other features and other files that will be used by POW, but they are hidden. The actual modules which will be used from the POW library itself. So you don't have to add any other files. These basic files that you will be working with, you will be seeing for POW. So after this installation, you have to make a configuration. So the configuration is also very simple. And one more thing, whatever the changes I am telling, after running the mix task, it will display all these steps in the as the output. So you just have to copy paste that output and copy that output and paste it in the relevant files. So there is nothing complicated in that also. So first thing will be configuring the POW itself. So we have to go to the config file and just add a configuration for POW. So the config my app will be the OTP application which we are using, and we'll be adding the atom POW, so that POW knows that this is the configuration that is related to POW. So in that configuration, we are only using two configurations. One is for user and one is for repo. The user is the user schema that we are going to use with POW library, and the repo is the repo that we are going to use. Nothing else is there for the basic implementation. Then the next part is setting up the endpoint. So here also only one change is needed, that is adding a POW session plug. So POW session plug needs to be added after the plug.session plug is plug. So the rest is by default in available in a Phoenix application. You just need to add pow.plug.session, and you have to pass the OTP app's name also as a parameter. That is all that is required to set up the endpoint. Then next is adding the routes to the router. So here also a very basic configuration is required, and I remind you that these are all there in the output file. So the output of the mix task, so it is only copy pasting is needed. Here first we will have to add the Phoenix router, POW Phoenix router. So that is what this line is there. Use pow.phoenix.router, and then we will add another pipeline for protected resources. So all these functions are available by default, so we just need to copy paste these lines. So there is a pipeline, protected pipeline is created, which will use the required authenticated plug which is present in POW library, and also an error handler plug that is also available in POW library. Next is the actual routes that we are going to add. So we create a new scope, and in that scope we just give POW routes as this, and this function will bring the necessary routes that are required for registration and login of a user. And the rest is basically, if you want authenticated routes, you just create another scope where you pipe through our protected pipeline and add the protected routes under that scope. And for anything else, yeah, you can do what you normally do with a Phoenix application. So just this much is actually required for installing POW and using it. Now we have a production ready uh, registration and user login page. So actually I had created two images just to show how it is, but that images are not coming. Sorry, I will to add that again. So basically what this gives is one registration page which will ask for a username and password, and a confirm password will be there. When you register it, the user will be created in the user schema and the table corresponding to that user schema. Then you can use a login page which is called as a session. So when you call a /session/new, you will be presented with a login page. You don't have to write any other thing. But the default template will be used, and you will be shown a login screen which will contain an email and password field and a login button. So this login page contains all the basic validations also. So you don't have to write anything other than just adding these. This is just copy pasting only. So within 5 minutes you are up and running with a user management and authentication in your current application. So this is a very quick setup and easy to use library. But the power of this library comes from the additional features that it gives. So next we will be looking at what are the additional features that will be provided by this library. So if you have any questions right now, you can interrupt, no issues. Hello. Hello.
Hey, uh, there is a question. Is it compulsory to use
Okay.
POW
Huh.
underscore routes? Can I have my own registration over there?
Routes, it is compulsory or not? I not quite sure. You can customize the that route, but so therefore it won't be compulsory. I think it won't be compulsory because you can customize that route. Default getting as a page as /new, but if you want to change that to new or just /sign up, you can do that. So POW routes is not necessary. You can replace that with your routes also. Anything else?
Let's continue.
Okay. Okay. So this library currently gives a very basic functionalities. But the beauty of it is that you can extend the current functionalities, and by default there are 4 extensions available in the library itself. So first one is the reset password. So that is basically if we have a forget password, we can add a forget password link to the login page, and in that what happens is when we click that forget password, you are taken to another screen where you can reset your password and then email to your registered email. So that is how reset password actually works. And the only thing that POW does not implement is the actual sending emails. So that part we need to develop. Maybe you can use another third-party library like Bamboo to send the emails. But apart from that, every other functionality is available in that extension. And similarly, another one is the email confirmation. So in the email confirmation, this can be used to actually have a validation of the email when the user registers. So once a user is registering using his email and password, email confirmation mail will be sent. Then only that user will be marked as active in the if the user click that validation link, then only that user will become active in our system. Otherwise, that state will be like in a invite send state only. So they have to confirm before logging into the system. So that is also there by default. But you will have to add this extra extension to have this feature. So yeah.
There is a question.
Okay.
What will be the database schema like, which will be created by Power for storing user registration details? Is that customized?
Yes. So by default, Power allows basic fields. That is, a username is there, an email is there, and a password and a confirm password is there. That is the basic fields that are present in the user schema. But when we are adding the extensions, that schema will be modified. And similar with the Power routes, we can use our custom schema as well. There is no need for the default schema to be used. We can use custom schema for user as well. So that is why I told it is actually very customizable, as well as you can use it as is also. You don't have to worry about it. Everything will be handled by Power, or everything you can also handle. It is the common theme across Power library. Either you can use the default implementations, or you can roll out your own. Is there anything else?
No, let's continue.
Okay. So the next extension will be Power Persistent Session. So Power Persistent Session is nothing but the Remember Me checkbox that we always see in login pages. So you will have a Remember Me checkbox, and if you check that, that session will be persisted, and you can, by default, I think it is for 30 days. Your session will be valid for the next 30 days. So you don't have to re-log in to that page again and again until it depends on the cookie is present in your browser. So that is another feature that is available in Power but not enabled by default. So another is Power Invitation. This is like you can send an invite email so that you can hide the register public registration in the in your public portal. Only invited users can join. So if you have a use case like that, you can use this extension. So we can send an email from the application to the corresponding user, and he will get a link to register himself. So he can visit that link and register with our portal or our application, and you can log in with that credentials. So you can disable the public registration entirely, and you can limit your users also from the common public. So it's another feature that is available in Power but not enabled by default. You can enable it as with your use case. So it's some other extra features that are supported but require some customization from our part. So I'm not going into the customization parts because I'm just giving an overview of the features. We can decide so that we can decide whether to use it or not. So the first feature that is supported is user roles. So every authentication system, we know that there will be another authorization system, and we can also have an RBAC, that is role-based access control. So PAV provides a very crude or very basic user role user role system, so that we can implement a role-based access control. So this here there is no role table is there, but only a string field is added to the user schema. So that field holds the roles, and we can give a list of roles, and then we can use this role to check whether that user is allowed to authenticate. So we can customize the controllers and create new plugs to check whether a particular resource is accessible to users with particular roles. And also this can be used in layouts also, so that we can hide certain fields or sections of our interface from users who are having certain roles. So it is not a high, you cannot say it is highly configurable, but you have to customize yourself to achieve whatever you need. But it allows you to create a user roles and basic functionalities, that is checking the roles, and those functionalities are there, but you will have to roll your own custom code to get this working in everywhere. And the only drawback which I see is you can't assign multiple roles for a single user. So role you have to create multiple roles for multiple users. So role explosion might occur. So you have only option for a single role for a single user. So if you want to control like granularity, more granularity is required to control users access and other things, role explosion might occur. And in certain other authorization systems or RBAC, if you are developing your own or other libraries, there we can actually have option to set multiple roles to a single user, or you can base one role on another role, so that the one role will get all the roles from other users. But here such a facility is not there. This is a basic implementation. So another feature that is provided is we can log users. That is we already have a user registered and an active state, but somehow we need to restrict his access anymore to our application. Then we can actually lock out our users. Hello.
There is a question: is there support for group or users and setting roles to different groups users being part of multiple groups?
No. That is what I told. This is actually a very basic implementation. So the roles is just a string field in the user schema. So you don't have support for multiple roles also for a single user. So whatever you need, you have to create a role. That is why if you want a granular control, you end up with a role explosion. So you will have to create so many roles to control such granularity. So in that cases, I don't think this is a right path to take. You can consider other libraries, or you can roll your own if you need. So that will be the better approach, not going with user roles provided by PAV. So it is a basic implementation only is there.
Thank you.
Okay, so lock users. So say we in our use case, suppose our application has a subscription type application. So a user creates a account and creates a subscription, and he is using it, but at the end of the month or the subscription expires. So then we will have to lock out that user from our application. So in that scenarios, we can use this lock feature, but it also requires some customization to implement it. This is a feature that is supported by Power, but you will have to customize some of your plugs and controllers to implement this. Again, another feature is disable registration, that like I have already told you, that like if we don't want every person in the internet to sign up to our service or application, we can disable that registration feature, and then either we can implement a invitation, sending an invitation link and registering with that link, or if it is a controlled environment, a backend admin can create a user directly. So we will be creating a admin interface. We will have to create an admin interface for that, and then give the access to the user. So that is how we will be disabling the registrations. So disable registration is also available. It's a supported feature, but it requires customization. Then another nice feature which I think is a good to have feature is support for multiple user schemas. So multiple user schema means like in our use case that suppose we have a public facing portal, say a customer portal or public portal is there, and users can register and use our application, and also we do have an admin portal. So to implement this, we can use either one approach is use a single user schema and add a boolean field for like is admin or is backend user, and just filter the login based on the users is admin boolean field, so that only is the filter the users with is admin checked true will be able to log in through the admin panel, and all other users will only be able to log in through the public portal. So that is one kind of implementation, but we can entirely separate these two schemas. Even though they are user schemas, we know that those two are entirely in different contexts. One user schema will be for the public users, and another user schema is actually for our backend users. So we can create multiple user schemas, and POW can be configured to allow multiple user schema use multiple user schemas. So we can actually create two login interfaces which will use different user schemas. So that is an good use case I have seen with POW, which is actually helpful for many users, because most of the applications will have a public portal and an admin portal. So in these cases, what we can do is either we can have a normal Phoenix application and have two endpoints, which gives one endpoint will be used for public portal and one endpoint for admin portal, and then we can configure POW based on those. Or that is actually a complicated setup. The simple setup will be use an umbrella project, create two Phoenix applications. One Phoenix application will be delivering your public portal, and the other Phoenix application will be delivering your backend portal. And then we use the two separate schemas for admin and the public portal, and POW will have POW will show you different login screens, and each will be authenticating on the corresponding user schema. So that is actually a good use case that I have seen with POW, which handles it very efficiently. So next is multi-tenancy. So this will occur mostly if you are application is a SaaS application. So you have multiple tenants using your SaaS application, and you want to separate their data with a separate their data so that there is no data leak. Okay, so for that, basically Ecto provides a multi-tenancy support, so, such that we can give a prefix in every query or repo that Ecto uses, so that it will hit only the specific tenant's partition data. So that same functionality is extended to POW. So basically, if you're having a multi-tenant SaaS application, and each tenant will have multiple users, so in that scenario, when we enable this multi-tenancy, it is POW guarantees that the user of the particular tenant will only be able to log in, or will only be authenticated with that corresponding tenant's user schema. So that is also a very good feature that is supported by POW. Then right now we spoke only about the Phoenix applications, Phoenix HTML applications. So we can use POW also for Phoenix API applications also. So token-based authentication is also supported by POW. So we can use POW with our API server also. But in this case also, little bit of customizations are required to support this token-based authentication. Okay, is there any questions?
Now for questions at the moment.
Okay. Okay, so there is the next thing is there is another library called POW Ascent, which is also an accompanying library with POW, and this POW Ascent actually gives us some other functionalities. So the major one is like nowadays we see most of the login pages with social logins, not just an email username password login, but most of the websites or applications give us the ability to use social logins to authenticate with the system. So POW Ascent is the library which gives these functionalities to our POW library. So we can use Google, GitHub, Twitter, Facebook, or any other custom authorization strategy with our POW enabled Phoenix app for giving us the authentication. So right now the supported features are you can use multiple providers with the same login. You can provide multiple providers in the same login itself. That is, you can give Facebook, Google, or Apple sign in the same login. Then you can also create some custom strategy so that if the available strategies are not meeting your criteria, or you are using some service which is not directly supported by POW Ascent, you can create your own custom strategies. Only thing is that basically it should, that service which you are trying to integrate should support any of the authentication. That is mainly OAuth 2 is what we are using most of the time. So OAuth 2 is supported by the service that you want to integrate with the with POW. So the strategies that are available outside out of the box are OAuth 1, OAuth 2, OIDC, Apple sign-in, OAuth 0, and Azure AD, Basecamp, Discord, Facebook, GitHub, and GitLab, things like that. Discord is also there, so we can use our Discord server to authenticate with our Power application also. So these are the strategies that are available out of the box, and you can create strategies as well. So basically, these are the features that is provided by Power and Power and Library. So this talk is basically to familiarize you with what you can expect from this library, not to how to implement it or how to customize it. I'm not going to anywhere into that. This is just an overview of the functionalities and features that is provided by this library, so that you can decide in your next project whether you need to use Power or you can use you need to use your own, or you can use some other. So a comparison, you can compare the features with other libraries, so that you can decide whether to go with a standard library or anything other. So that is basically the one thing I must say is that this awesome library was developed by Dan Schulze. So I don't know whether that's the exact pronunciation. So he is behind this library. So he is actually he says that he is creating this library based on the recommendations by NIST and OWASP. So you are guaranteed that this library will be following the best security practices. So we thank you, Dan Schulze, for creating such an awesome library. And in conclusion, this also, if I would like to say that there is another project that is you will all be aware of. Joseph Wallim's Dash is creating a new authentication solution for Phoenix, which is basically a general PHX or the generator that is being developed. So Joseph Wallim has created a very good blog post about this authentication, why he is interested in going the generator route rather than a standard library, because in the Ruby ecosystem there is a de facto library that is called Device, which is used for authentication, and Jose is the main contributor to that library. So there was a question that why he didn't create such a de facto library for Elixir when he created this language. So this blog post is basically looking at those scenarios why he thought there is no need for a standard library for authentication in Elixir. So in that, it's, if you are a standard library, there will be a lot of magic happening behind, which you will not be aware of. And he says that Elixir's basic design philosophy is explicit over implicit. So those two collides with each other. So that is why he is not promoting any de facto authentication library. And over the time, that library will become huge and that tries to handle every scenario, every use case, and that library will become a very huge. So that is why he has restrained himself from creating another authentication library. But now providing generated application. So any Phoenix application you can the maintainability. So if the generator is updated in the future because of some security issues or something, it is the responsibility of the user who is using the generator to manually update his code, whether generating it again, or if there is some customization, you'll have to do some diff check and implement bring those changes, uh, or patch your current application. But that becomes a bit tedious. I don't know. We will see it only when it becomes commonly used. And in that case, POW is actually helping by hiding most of the internals away from the user. So some users most probably will come with an idea and they want to implement it. That's all they need. So in that scenario, this Power library will come very handy, because that hides away all the nitty-gritty from the user. He just uh, have to add some boilerplate code somewhere, and everything is in a production ready state. So that is an advantage that I think libraries are having. This is my personal view only. You may differ. Everyone has their own appetite. So that is basically it. And these are the resources which I had looked to. The, this will give you the basic idea about how to implement Power, or how to integrate Power with your Phoenix applications. And also I am planning to create a follow-up blog post, or a blog post series with which will explain in depth the technical portions of the technical aspect of this library. So I will update that as well in this. So basically that is it. And if you have any questions, you can ask.
Thanks, Vinod, for the talk and waiting for questions. Meanwhile, looking forward for that blog post or the blog post.
Yeah, I thought because yesterday we had a conversation, right? Today, actually, I was preparing for an like a code walkthrough.
Okay.
That was my basic idea when I of giving this talk. So after yesterday's conversation, I thought, yes, this will be a better format. I will just give that the features. I will just explain the basic features what we can get from this library, so that interested people can just go through. Okay, this feature is available. Okay, they can compare these features with some other existing libraries, or they can decide whether to go with this library or not. So just overview of those features. So the technical details we can, if needed, we can cover in another session, or some other webinars or something like that. Or I will be I will certainly go with a blog post for, as a follow up for this talk. That is there. That will be there. Don't worry.
That will be
So that is
perfect.
the basic idea. Okay. Right. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Vinod. We have a small announcement, after which we'll take a 5 minute break and we'll continue with the next session. So, Sandesh, you're on.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. We had very nice talks. The first talk of example of cricket is really nice, and it helps us understand how to use Gensor. A blog post of that will be really helpful. Video will be even much better. And this Vinod Kumar's talk was also nice, and I had a lot of questions, but I need to first do some homework, and then I will be able to, like, if I can use it with channels and live view, how to use lot of questions.
Yes.
So I will just
Okay.
I'll
May I just
mail you Vinod, or
okay.
follow you on
May
Twitter.
I just interrupt a bit?
Sure.
Okay, I just forgot to mention this. Like I had tried to, you had asked a very good question. So I tried Power with a live view, but it is not working well. So I just checked the actual GitHub repo. So there are issues that is reported with live view. So he is working on supporting live view as now now Phoenix has the live view built with it in it. So he has said that he will be supporting live view pretty soon.